The movie begins in the house of a family composed of two parents and their three children, two boys, Juan and Miguel, and a girl named Wendy. The two boys were the youngest and were playing with their toy swords. They played the story of Peter Pan, while Wendy, who was the oldest, was preparing to leave the house early the next day. Wendy shared a room with her brothers and began to prepare her luggage. However, after looking for something that she couldn't find, she realized her brothers had it. She started playing with them and joined in their game of Peter Pan and Hook. The boys were still playing when she joined them, and they all had a lot of fun. Suddenly, while they were playing, Wendy accidentally hit Juan's sword hard, and he ended up breaking a mirror that was in his room. Immediately, their father entered and asked who had been responsible for this tremendous sound. Father said he was not there for those games anymore. The father took the swords, and despite Wendy's protests, he followed his dog and left. The mother scolds her children. She goes first to the two boys, then she goes to tell Wendy that she should set a good example for her brothers. Wendy feels very sad because the next day she is going to a boarding school, and she doesn't want to go. Her mother tries to comfort her, saying that she also did it at her age, and that it is part of growing up. Wendy tells her mother that she's afraid of growing up. Her mother tells her to follow her path and to imagine everything that she and the world would miss if she doesn't move on. Later, to comfort her, the mother sings a beautiful song that talks about how wonderful it is to grow up. Everyone at home is already asleep when an inclusive girl named Tinkerbell appears through the window of the brothers' room, spreading magical dust and singing a good morning song. Tinkerbell was having fun when suddenly Juan catches her, causing her to wake up, and all the brothers wake up too. At first, they thought it was an insect, but suddenly Peter himself appears with a sword, saying that they caught her. He says that she's not an insect. The boys are very surprised because they did not imagine him to be so inclusive, and he is supposed to be just a fairy tale. Peter Pan begins searching among the children's toys, pulling out everyone who was playing. Peter Pan says he's looking for his shadow. When he finally finds it, he has a hard time catching it. But in the end, he does. Peter Pan has trouble keeping his shadow tied to him, so Wendy finds her sewing box to help him cross his shadow at his feet. Tinkerbell is scared, thinking that he was going to hurt him, but Peter Pan tells her to calm down. Wendy just wants to help him while he was fixing his shadow to his foot. Peter Pan tells Wendy that he has been listening every time his mother wakes her up or sends her to sleep. Wendy realizes that Peter Pan is a tremendous psychopath, and even by observing him, she realizes that all this time she has been waiting for him to say the same thing that he once said. Distracted by the conversation, it stabs her heart. The children tell him that if they don't know, they say that if he isn't stupid since his heart is there, and Miguel tells him that if he feels bad, like with his bear, a kiss works. Peter says that if he wants one, oh my gosh, I'm interested in that, huh? So Wendy gave him a thimble and tells him that it's a kiss. Peter takes it and puts it away. Peter says that the only place to sleep or get up and where you can be yourself is Neverland, and he invites them. They accept, but they must go flying. Peter recommends that to do so, he should fill his mind with beautiful and clear memories with the help of Tinkerbell's magic dust. Wendy does it, and when she opens her eyes, she realizes that she is flying, and Juan was also flying, and they all went straight to Neverland, the second star to the right. Finally, the boys arrive in Neverland, a beautiful place where they saw Mermaid's home. There was the Little Mermaid inclusive. The boys were quite excited by everything they saw. While Wendy, Peter Pan, Juan, Miguel, and Tinkerbell toured Neverland, one of Hook's men saw them. He was going to tell Captain Hook that Peter Pan had returned. Hook was a pirate who lacked a good hand and was a pretty but grumpy guy. When he saw Peter, he started attacking him. Peter told the boys that the pirates were attacking them and they needed to leave to a safe place. Peter took the boys to attack the pirates, but a wave caused everyone to fly and fall in different places. When Wendy woke up after the fall, she realized that she was alone. She started looking for Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and her brothers, but she found herself on the way to the Lost Children, where there was Princess Tiger. When the children saw her, they remembered Peter's photos of her and her storytelling abilities. However, they were not sure if she was an imposter. Then they became somewhat violent with Wendy because they believed that she had already hurt Peter Pan. But she told them that she did nothing to him and explained that it was the pirates who attacked him. Wendy also told them about her brothers and described them. That is how the inclusive boys with their telescopes found Juan and Miguel and held on to them. It took him a while to see them, but when they realized that they had been kidnapped by pirates, Juan and Miguel were taken before Captain Hook. Between him and one of his men named Smith, they interrogated them to find out how they got to Neverland. The boys said that they arrived with Peter Pan and that he would come to rescue them. Garfield decided to take the children to Skullstone. They told Wendy by shortcuts to the Skullstone. There they told her that Captain Hook was very bad because he grew up like that, but that it was undoubtedly quite good that he had a sword. In addition to telling Wendy some of his adventures with Peter Pan and Captain Hook, he told her the one about the crocodile, a classic. This story came among the well-known because he read it in a storybook, so the inclusive lost children realized that they were in a Disney live-action. They realized that they were in a stone story, Juan, and Miguel was chained to a huge stone. Garfield was sentenced for being children. However, Garfield realizes that among his men, there is someone he doesn't recognize and discovers that it was Peter Pan himself, whom he knew immediately in disguise. Peter began to fight against all the pirates with the help of Tinkerbell, managing to kill everyone except Captain Hook and his minions. The fight between Captain Hook and Peter Pan started. Meanwhile, the princess with Juan and Miguel tried to unchain them but could not. So they asked someone for help. With their magic, they managed to unleash the Super Easy. Peter Pan held that Wendy was there and was talking to him because he thought that perhaps she was injured or dead. Captain Hook used this distraction to hurt Peter's shadow, managing to subdue Peter Pan. To defend himself, Peter couldn't do anything. Garfield was about to kill him when suddenly Wendy appeared and told him that he was from London and no gentleman there hurt a child. He reflected that he was not a gentleman and tried to kill Peter again. But suddenly, a huge crocodile appeared who began to chase him. Peter took advantage of the bug to escape with Wendy and her brothers. Captain Hook also managed to escape, but by very little and being out of danger. Wendy slapped Peter. She was very upset by everything they lived through since Peter believed that it was all an adventure. But she claimed that he could not have dealt with Captain Hook alone and that he had a lot of help, including the lost children, Princess India, and Tinkerbell. He replied that nothing would happen if Captain Hook killed him, but he told her that that won't happen. One more time, she asked her brothers to leave. The lost children went with her. They confessed that Hook was not always a pirate. The children took Wendy to their lair in spectacular places. After going through it, the lost children asked Wendy to tell them a story. Peter was there before telling the story. Wendy asks him where his parents were. Peter tells her that there are never any parents here. The lost children ask Wendy if she's their mother, but Wendy tells them that she can't be their mother, and she also has a mother just like everyone else, and that they must be missing them. The lost children begin to say how much they miss their mother, but Peter pales and says that they shouldn't miss her because being with her means the end of their adventures. The only thing they would have left would be to grow up. Peter Pan leaves. Meanwhile, the rest of the children stay, and Wendy sings them the same lullaby that their mother had sung to her before, and that he used to sing to his brothers. Peter is outside listening to the song, and Captain Hook is hiding nearby. He also heard the song, saying that he had heard something like this before. All the lost children, including Miguel and Juan, are there, but Wendy was still talking. Tinker wakes up nearby trying to communicate. Next door, he shows him a name that was engraved on the wall, James. That was the name of Hook, who has a room in that place. He enters the room, and Vegeta Peter was there. He approaches to talk, but walks away. Wendy found some kind of necklace. Peter told her that it was a kiss that he made for Wendy so that they both would have one. Still, they ended up fighting just like with Hook. Peter told Wendy that Garfield was his friend. He was the first lost boy. But eventually, Neverland was not enough for him. One day he went to the sea alone without telling Peter, and when he returned, he had changed a lot. He had become cruel and evil. Wendy asked if it was really like that, or was it just that he grew up? Peter told her that it didn't matter. Peter wanted Wendy to stay so that she wouldn't grow up. He thought that she could be happy there. But Wendy told him that she had believed it too, but that it was never what she expected. Peter didn't like hearing that, so he didn't want to keep talking, and Wendy left the room to help her brothers. Wendy realizes that her brothers and the lost children had been kidnapped, and that's when Hook appears, and one of his men takes her and arrives at her room. Peter realizes and hides. Hook starts reminding him how many times he had played hide-and-seek there, and that Peter was very good at hiding, but he was good at finding it. Peter appears very scared and tells him that he doesn't like that adventure anymore and falls into the empty Tinkerbell tries to help him, but she can't because they caught her, and he ends up falling. Wendy saw everything and complains to Hook, but all he says is that because of Peter Pan. Hook drugged Wendy, who was locked up, to find out where the song he was listening to came from. And he already tells her that he does not know that it was a song that his mom sang to him. Hook was somewhat confused. Wendy, who knew his story that before he was a lost child and that he left Neverland, and that when he returned evil, tells her that not everything happened so exactly, that Peter did not tell her apart since he did not leave Neverland, that it was Peter who banished him because he missed his mother, who sang that same song to him. That explains a lot, that he could never find her, and that he was lost at sea, but Smith found him and saved him, being raised by the pirates, and that in time he became a captain and decided to return because he had been happy there and because Peter was his friend. Wendy told him that he could be happy there, but he said no. It all came down to this and how happy he was. It could have been. It had ended. That's what happens when you grow up. But Wendy told him no, that's what happened when you grow up badly. That was a bit cruel. Then he asked his men to execute the children. Wendy, seeing this, asked Hook to kill her and let the children that they will grow up and become good pirates. Garfield takes Wendy to execute her, surprised by her enormous display of sacrifice. While Princess Tiger will manage to save Peter, he knows that they took the children, so he decides to go look for them, but he can't fly. Princess Tiger helps him. Wendy had already been prepared for execution and walked the plank to be thrown into the sea in chains. The lamp Tinkerbell was on fell and broke, but Wendy sent happy thoughts to her mind from her future being an adult. Suddenly the ship filled with dust, and Wendy appeared with Tinkerbell saying that a captain is useless without his ship. Then the ship begins to rise. Peter arrives at the place on horseback with Princess Tiger, but then he jumps on the ship. Peter and Hook confront each other, but as a distraction, Wendy cuts the sails of the ship, and they fall on all the lost children. They manage to get away from the pirates and begin to fight with them. Even the very inclusive Tinkerbell fought. The princess manages to enter the ship, which was still flying. Garfield continued fighting, for the ship was about to collide with a huge mountain. But Juan and Miguel prevented them from colliding by moving the rudder. Then, with the help of the Princess Tiger, they went to the wrong rudder to take control. So, after telling everyone to hold on to him sharply, turning him even upside down, Peter and Hook kept fighting. Peter, who is inside the ship fighting with Hook, comes out on the outside of the ship and was about to fall. But Wendy holds him by filling it with fairy dust. Peter drops the sword and apologizes for being evil friend and hurting him. This he did not like very much. Hook told Peter that he should fight, so he drew his sword but to hurt Peter. In this, they launched a cannon from the ship, causing Hook to wobble, and he is about to fall. Peter grabs him by the calcium before he falls. Peter calls him by his real name, James, and tells him to have happy thoughts. Hook tries, but told Peter he doesn't have any. Falling into the sea, Peter is very sad. Wendy tells him it is time to take the lost children home. Then everyone mounts the boat. They leave Neverland. For their part, Wendy's mother goes up to Wendy's room and meets her. Wendy tells her that she is very sorry. They hear noises coming from the room, and then the father also arrives to see what happens. When he opens the door, they see the lost children inside the room, including Miguel and Juan. Then they go out the window. There is Peter and Tinkerbell on the roof. Wendy asks him what happened to him, and he shows her his name engraved on the wall of the house and tells her that it is the same house he used to live in a long time ago. That one day, his mother scolded him, saying it was time to grow up. So he decided to leave without looking back. Wendy understood that this is why he always came back. Peter tells her that his mother is no longer here, and that he knew that he had become a story that had no end until now. Peter tells Wendy that maybe he can come back to listen to stories, but Wendy tells him to stay. Peter tells her that she will grow up, but she tells him that growing up is the greatest adventure of all, and that they should think about everything they are starting to do. He tells her that he is not ready for this. The boat was letting go where they had moored it, so Peter leaves to control it. Wendy says goodbye. Tinkerbell asks her to take care of Peter and never ever forgets about her. Peter and Tinkerbell walk away to return to Neverland, and Wendy feels sad for their leaving. The movie ends. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I always love hearing from my viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the video or any suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.